Hello there, and welcome back to the Endless Kingdom. I'm your Narzos, and in a not-so-critical review, we'll be looking into the first season of a Netflix original cartoon that was released this year, and at the time of this recording, a second season is due to arrive in one day. Kid Cosmic. Kid Cosmic is a cartoon that goes for a sort of retro style, while at the same time taking advantage of more modern viewpoints and subject matter, which leads to a very interesting blend and dynamic within the show. The premise, as in of itself, is simple, but the interactions taken to fulfill that premise are all over the place and, frankly, make the show a rather unique watch. The show, in its most basic form, is about a young boy in a small desert town out in the middle of nowhere, who calls himself Kid Cosmic. Real name never stated, not even sure if he has one or if Kid is his real name. Rather ambiguous on that note. As he finds 5 stones near a crashed spaceship he stumbles upon one night, and discovers that they imbue superpowers to whoever holds them. It's in order to emulate the superheroes he admires, mostly through comic books which he has an extensive collection of. He turns the stones into rings. At first, he wants to use the stone to be a superhero all by himself, assuming eventually aliens are gonna invade. He turns out to be right because the stones are highly sought after by the galactic community. But he has no idea what he's doing. Takes him some time to figure out how to just use one of the stones, and even then, in the stone he keeps for himself, he doesn't master till near the end of the series. Said power from the green stone was initially presumed to be flight, but later revealed to be telekinesis. He just wings it, hoping he'll succeed. That makes his character endearing, but at the same time, you can really see he's in over his head, not to mention a bit arrogant and full of himself. Well, that mostly stems from the fact that he takes a superhero concept seen in media. Heroes always have to do things on their own. Heroes never retreat a bit too seriously. That backfires on him quite a bit, especially when it comes to the show's most recurring antagonist. The first alien and Kid encounters is called Stuck Chuck. Not his real name, but it was never contradicted. And Chuck takes every opportunity to badmouth Kid and the friends he makes to a lesser extent, criticizing him, belittling him, and making him doubt himself. Oh, you think of a harsh thing to say? Besides outward swearing, because this show is aimed at a younger audience, Stuck Chuck will do it. Their defining trait of Chuck is his single-minded devotion to his species' great leader. We do see later on in the series, which lays a whole assortment of dynamics in of itself. The other characters amongst the series, in terms of the main cast, this is Jo, young teenager, working at her mother's diner, the only food establishment in the small nowhere town, who dreams of traveling across the world but with little opportunity to do so. That's why she joined Kid in his alien fighting crusade, even though at first she didn't want anything to do with it. She just wanted to use the superpowers to fulfill her ambition. Oh, she eventually warms up. Powers from the Purple Stone gives Jo the ability to create teleportation portals anywhere where she can see or envision, which she takes to quite quickly after a small period of trial and error. The next character that joins the main cast is a young toddler named Rosa. Honestly, it seems like she views the whole alien crusade thing as one big game, which is kind of dangerous, considering her power coming from the blue stone is the ability to turn into a giant, a nearly invulnerable giant at that, which Kid learns rather painfully. Rosa, or she likes to call herself, is using her power, is an interesting character. Clearly, really a 4-year-old, but at the same time can act a bit older. And again, that might just be my perspective. If she is incredibly immature of almost everything she does. Half the time she's using her powers, laughing around, and will stomping and things. That leads to some interesting problems the characters have to overcome, at first at least. Following the next part of the main cast is Papa G, Kid's grandfather, who's given the Yellowstone, which lets him create as many clones of himself as he likes. Clones that have almost no durability and disintegrate from the smallest of impacts. But hey, he can turn himself into a one-man army. Or would if it weren't for the fact that Papa G is an incredible pacifist, preferring non-violent and spiritual ways to solve any of his problems, which severely contrasts the events that groups encounter on a regular basis. But he takes it in stride since he knows it makes his grandson happy. That's his primary motivation, which does lead to a few bits of inner turmoil here and there here for 2 episodes or so, but it also leads to some nice revelations Kid has as near the end. Must say, the show doesn't follow any standard format. Sometimes it's a slice of life with powers in the mix. Sometimes it's a monster of the week conflict, but that's only briefly. Heck, most of the alien encounters occur during a bit of a montage scene near the middle of the season. But really, I didn't mind that. In spite of that getting old rather fast, they still made room for other conflicts, mostly involving Stuck Chuck, but still. In the end, final conflict of the season didn't come from aliens per se, but a mix of aliens and the government stepping in. Though the government aspect was a bit unexpected, it didn't feel out of place. After all, Joe mentioned if they wanted their powers, they'd have to keep the whole thing a secret. So, in a way, it all flows together smoothly. Speaking of Joe, I remind you of the roles the team he managed to assign to themselves. Oh wait, forgot, that's one more member. Though it's kind of easy to forget considering there's not much characterization coming from a cat given the last stone, on the red stone of precognition. Here, don't get the cat's name too. Who names? It's a cat tuna fish sandwich. Whatever. A small group who comes to call themselves the local heroes. Joe was the leader, though she doesn't see herself as that at first, just sort of happens. Papa G, he is a source of wisdom and advice for the team. Rosa's the muscle. Kid, well, he wanted to be the leader at first, but in the end, he turns out to be the heart of the team. Description that by the end of the series, fits him quite well. Wouldn't you expect that going into the series, especially if all you saw were the trailers, which depicted action and mixed in with a fierce learning curve for the heroes. Well, mostly Kid. As was said several times, he's a good person, but really bad at the hero stick. Really? That's all for the benefit to the character. Especially when he goes for his own bit of identity crisis. Thanks in part to Chuck's prodding. Eesh. All over the place with that guy. All over the place with everyone. And really, except Papa G, was pretty consistent all throughout. But all those mixes and matches is with this small cast. It's one of the most unique cartoons I've ever seen. One that is soon to be getting a 2nd season. But as I always say, I'm not here to tell you if this cartoon is good or bad. I'm here to state my opinion and through it let you decide if Kid Cosmic is something you like to watch. So if you think Kid Cosmic strikes your fancy, you can find it for easy streaming on Netflix. And if you enjoyed this not-so-critical review, you can like the video, leave a comment, share it around, subscribe if you haven't, and hit the notification bell if you have. And until the next not-so-critical review, most likely, the Kid Cosmic Season 2, whom I've been your anonymous host, The Endless Kingdom, I wish you all a good day.